Well, marketing friends, we got to have a serious talk because the way we've done marketing for the last 20 years is ending. I'm serious. I believe that this guy, this is me in 2010, who told you that digital marketing, for 2 decades I did, told you that digital marketing was all about being able to track every view and every click so that when conversions happened, we could perfectly attribute them. We could say, oh, this piece of content, this advertisement, this PR investment, this word of mouth effort is worthwhile because it turned into this trackable, perfectly attributable series of events in our analytics. And this doesn't work this way anymore. That's because clicks are dying and attribution is dying. There's only one way forward. I'm going to try and present it to you as fast as I can and as efficiently as I can. So what is it? Tell me, Rand, what killed all these clicks? I'm going to tell you, every one of these platforms has an incentive to keep you there. LinkedIn wants to keep you on LinkedIn. You might be watching this video on LinkedIn in a native format with no link to a blog post or anywhere else because LinkedIn's algorithm biases me to want to share native content with you. So does Facebook, so does Reddit, so does YouTube, so does Instagram, so does TikTok, every one of these. What about attribution? Well, attribution was killed by a variety of things. Apple's cookie changes absolutely had a big effect when they pulled back on third-party cookies inside Safari. That took a huge hit. Anti-tracking and privacy laws in California, in Canada, coming potentially in New York, in Europe, right? In the EU, absolutely, which is rolled out globally. Adoption of ad blockers. We're talking about a third to half of all internet users using an ad blocker on one or more of their devices. And ad blockers don't just block ads, they block all of the tracking that we do as well. Multi-device journeys, right? The adoption of mobile and desktop and laptop and iPad and the domination of apps that happen because of that. All of that activity, those hours that people spend inside their apps on their phone that cannot be perfectly attributed back to the same visits that they make on the web, except when it is through the same ad tracking system, right? Google or Facebook. And finally, zero-click consumption. I don't click on things. You don't click on things. We as a collective internet stopped clicking. And part of that was the platforms training us not to click. And part of that is our own predilection for consuming content in native formats on apps and websites. So look, I have the data to back this up. This isn't just conjecture. I can prove it to you. We did a study in January of this year with Datos looking at who sends traffic on the web. And it is overwhelmingly search. Look, Google and Microsoft and Bing and YouTube, DuckDuckGo to a certain extent, that's about 70% of all traffic referrals, every click that's sent out. But where people are spending time is not 70% search. That is not where 70% of visits go. In fact, it's only about 10% of all visits. And yes, that includes OpenAI and Perplexity and all those places too. 10%. We spend time in social and productivity tools like our email, on news websites, buying things in e-commerce, on video and audio platforms. If you try to prove acquisition via referral data, traffic referral data, you will become Google's fool. And here's why. Because everything that happens here leads to one of these, right? I consume content in social. I see something about your brand of risotto, right? Your rice brand. I'm like, oh, okay, that looks cool. I'm going to check it out. I don't click because it's a zero-click world. I search. I go to Google and search. And who gets the credit? Google does. So what's the solution to all this? I'm presenting this big problem, but there is a solution. There is a way forward, and that is to go where your audience is consuming content to find their sources of influence. So if I want the best rice for risotto, right, and I search Google for it, well, millions of people cook risotto. Some of them search Google to find the best rice, but most don't. And I want to know, we want to know, those millions of people, what are all the sources that influence them, that make them choose to buy one particular brand or kind of rice or another? And that's what I'm looking for. I want the websites risotto searchers visit. I want to know the social networks and the social accounts that they use and follow. I want to know the podcasts and the YouTube channels and the subreddits that they visit. I see something like this. best rice for risotto. And I worry that a classic old school digital marketer and SEO person looks at the click-through rate and says, this isn't a keyword worth targeting, right? Not worth ranking for, because Google's giving me an instant answer there. There's no clicks. Maybe you buy some clickstream data and you see that, almost no one clicks on that result, even though it's up at the top. But I see it and I say, that is going to bias behavior. If I am in the grocery store and I search for best kind of rice for risotto, I'm probably going to buy arborio, even though arborio is not the best kind of rice for risotto. You should be buying carnaroli, if you can, aged carnaroli. I'm going to show you. The problem with this is that it lacks attribution. You can't prove to your boss that by taking over that ranking or by being in this, SERP, you are getting any value unless it sends a click, and it sends no clicks. This is Acquarello, a brand of aged carnaroli rice, which is excellent for risotto. It's what I almost always use, and I'm obsessed with this stuff. And the thing that was successful for them is they started an affiliate program, and they got into a bunch of places like Bon Appetit, which has an affiliate link over to Amazon for Acquarello. And they realized this, and then they started pitching folks through PR, and they got a ton of great press, and they invited people to come taste their rice in Italy, and they worked with chefs who served it all over the country, and now some in the United States as well, and London and the UK. Very successful. They found the sources of their customers' influence, and they reached them through that, right? That you can see it ranking, by the way. If I were an SEO, I would try and bump up that Bon Appetit piece. So what I'm suggesting to you is that digital marketing in 2024 is a lot like digital marketing, well, a lot like marketing in 1964. It is getting the right message that appeals to the right people in the right places and at the right time to the right audience. And I'm urging you to invest in it, to optimize for it, for measurement and not attribution, because attribution fundamentally doesn't work anymore. And you can make these investments and measure on lift and see incredible results.